Hello and welcome to the window. Ben Jacobs with you for all your latest transfer news here on YouTube, but go to talksport.com where we've got a live blog and on air as news breaks as well. We begin with a good old-fashioned swap deal. Dwight McNeil and Brennan Johnson. Johnson to Everton, McNeil to Crystal Palace. McNeil nearly went to Crystal Palace in January, but there was an issue with paperwork, and Johnson at the time was a club record signing for Crystal Palace, but unfortunately it hasn't worked out. This is viewed as a deal that suits all parties. No cash is believed to be changing hands, and both players have permission to undergo their medicals. Manor Solomon is set to move to West Ham United from Tottenham Hotspur, an agreement in principle, £5 million, £2 million in add-ons. And Solomon also has permission to start his medical today. Philip Jorgensen has agreed a loan move to Strasbourg from Chelsea. He'd left Chelsea's pre-season tour of Australia and Asia to formalise that move. My expectation is the official announcement could come as early as today, and certainly within the next 72 hours. And don't forget Hull City, so busy in the market. Elliot Stroud, a confirmed signing, £3 million from Mjällby and a 4-year contract with a 1-year option. Moving on to Rodri, huge week ahead. Barcelona are confident, I can tell you, and their perspective is they're finalising this deal. Why? Because they've got personal terms in place with the player already. One bid rejected to Manchester City, €45 million plus add-ons, but a second offer is imminent. It may even come today, certainly this week, and Man City are prepared to sell, but they want in and around €75 million. And despite how it's been presented as a golfing valuation, Barca are optimistic of closing the deal and are prepared to go higher. And I think there's a fair chance that this one now happens quickly. More information on that story via talksport.com. And we're starting to see a bit of a domino effect now, because in light of Rodri to Barcelona, Barca are going to be bringing in money that in part helps fund their pursuit of Rodri, and PSG have a confidence of their own to sign Ferran Torres, who scored the winner in the World Cup final as Spain beat Argentina. PSG have terms in place with the player, and they're now starting formal talks with Barcelona. And because Torres has told Barca he wants to go, Barca are suddenly prepared to sell. And this means PSG could be adding 2 attackers, one in Ferran Torres, and in addition, they've already signed Magnus Akliouche from Monaco on a 5-year deal, and that helps Liverpool, who are waiting patiently and in contact with PSG for Bradley Barcola, hoping they can get down that asking price of €170 million. Ibrahim Mbaye is also a player that Liverpool like, but there's heavy competition. Bayer Leverkusen are already in advanced talks. There's interest from other German and, I'm told, Italian clubs as well. So lots moving, and we're starting to see a few domino effects here where one deal might suddenly create the opportunity for others to get done as well. For Arsenal, they are still looking to strengthen on that left-hand side, having missed out on Vinicius Junior, who's extended at Real Madrid until 2032. You have Kenan Yıldız, who is one option that Arsenal have liked for quite some time. But remember, the player only recently signed a new long-term contract. So that one is going to either be expensive or impossible, depending on the perspective of Juventus after that new deal. Iliman Ndiaye is a player, as we revealed on talkSPORT, that Arsenal also have on their radar. Julián Alvarez is a player that Arsenal will move for, even if they get the slightest bit of encouragement. Andrea Berta knows Alvarez well. He'll speak this week to Atletico Madrid on his future. Atleti are on record saying that they want to keep the player. Yet if Julián Alvarez agitates for a move, let's see if that changes the perspective. Barcelona are waiting to bid again if the ability arises to do business with Atletico Madrid, and Atleti have been firm privately and publicly saying pay the €500 million release clause or there's no deal to be had. But sometimes in transfers that can be grandstanding, so therefore we have to play it step by step and understand what the repercussions are of the conversation between Julián Alvarez and Atletico Madrid. But if Atleti decide they're more inclined to sell outside of La Liga rather than within it, then Arsenal are prepared to move on that particular deal. We know that Arsenal had looked at Anthony Gordon before the window opened, but he's already gone to Barcelona, and Junior Krupi is injured. And either way, Bournemouth say that the player was not for sale, and that would have been the case even if he was fit. So lots of options for Arsenal, but somewhat back to the drawing board after missing out on Vinicius Junior. And then linked to that, Gabriel Martinelli, who is being pursued by Galatasaray in Turkey. There's a story on the talkSPORT website giving you all of the details on this one, an exclusive that we broke yesterday. And the reason why Gala made a call to Arsenal on Sunday is because Galatasaray have not yet closed the deal for Rafa Leão. They'd like to. There's a desire and intent there. But as it stands, no done deal. And because the negotiations have hit some hitches, Galatasaray have started exploring other options, and Gabriel Martinelli is one possibility. Arsenal are prepared to sell, but first they would have to add, so timing isn't right to advance this. But Galatasaray made the call to Arsenal to make an initial inquiry whilst determining if there is a way forwards with Rafa Leão. And then again, we have one of these dominoes where Fenerbahce are hoping to close a deal for Romelu Lukaku. And should he leave Napoli for in and around 10 million euros, then Napoli are one of the clubs considering making an offer for Gabriel Jesus, and Arsenal are hoping for up to £20 million if they are to sanction that exit. Bruno Guimaraes was unveiled in the friendly against Dortmund at the Emirates Stadium. New Arsenal signing 75 million. And Newcastle are now looking to strengthen in the centre of midfield. They've got two more experienced options. One is João Paulinho, who spent last season on loan at Tottenham, and Aston Villa are in talks for the player as well. And another possibility is Pierre-Emile Højbjerg. I don't think this is Newcastle done in the centre of the park. Both of these players are born out of opportunism, but Newcastle are going to be spending more money and strengthening in several areas, because remember, the money they brought in for Bruno Guimaraes is not about book balancing. They satisfied their position through the combination of Anthony Gordon 70 million and Sandro Tonali 100 million, and now Bruno Guimaraes' transfer gives Newcastle United some freedom in the market. And I sense why it's been skewed for some of the window as Newcastle losing and not gaining as many players is partly because Newcastle were aware that Eddie Howe was leaving for a number of weeks, and now they've waited, and Matthias Jasler, new manager, is going to have some say in the market, as he did, by the way, at Al Ahly, where he had a fair amount of control as to what business the Saudi club did. So Newcastle are going to be busy between now and the end of the window. Let's move on to Real Madrid and Endrick. This could be a fascinating story between now and the end of the window. The player wants to stay at Real Madrid and is aligned with the club, which means that a loan is the most likely possibility as opposed to a Real Madrid stay. And Aston Villa and Roma are two of the clubs that have made initial inquiries, and Endrick, by all accounts, is open to a potential move to the Premier League. There are other suitors. For example, Liverpool have been tracking Endrick for quite some time, but they're not active this window because Liverpool would only move if they could sign the player permanently. And the direction of travel is an Endrick loan and then back to Real Madrid. And Aston Villa and AS Roma could well be two clubs to watch. But there are others as well from Europe's top 5 leagues and even Saudi as well. But my info is that Endrick doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia, but is attracted by the possibility of a Premier League loan. Chelsea are waiting to formalise a deal for Pep Chavaria. It's almost agreed. The player could well undergo his medical in the next day or two. 90 million euros plus 2 million in add-ons, and then a final word on Fulham, who have agreed a deal in principle for Shea Charles, an excellent signing. This is born off the fact that Sasha Lukic joined Ipswich, an exclusive story that we broke you on talkSPORT, for a fee of £9 million. And then Fulham have been able to close the deal for Shea Charles for up to £30 million, and that is including the add-ons. And he's expected to do his medical again early this week. So that's the latest from a busy window. Done deals, almost done deals, and domino effects as well. Stay tuned to talksport.com for all the latest. We've got a live rolling blog and on air, of course, as the news breaks. But for now, from myself, Ben Jacobs, thanks for watching.